What are we doing? That is a question that people asked us a lot.
Director of Public Relations or a 299
is available only at the
Welcome back to the Road Trip Ramblings podcast here at PVR. So if you didn't watch the first episode, you probably should, but Cliff Notes is I am driving from Tulsa to St. Louis to pick up some Babydoll Southdown Sheep. 10 hours in the car, and while I am driving, I decided to try something new, which is to make a podcast. Obviously, it's on a video, but it's going to be more of a podcast style because I'm just driving and talking. So in episode number 1, we talked about who is Porter Valley Ranch. In episode 2, we're going to talk about what are we doing? What are we doing? That is a question that people asked us a lot. That is a question that we ask ourselves a lot. And it's a question that more than anything else we see in people's eyes. They give us that look, like, what the heck are you doing? And the answer is, we are doing something. Why we're doing it is because we feel led to do it. We feel like God has put us in a place where we should do this. So rewind 1 year, last March, COVID hit. COVID shut our business down. We own we own a dance studio, a gymnastics gym, and an event center, none of which we could do in the heat of COVID. So our businesses were shut down. We took our QuickBooks income to zero. We were making no money, locked the doors, and sat home for about 10 minutes and said, God, what do you want us to do? So one way that we stayed sane was by leaning into our property. We've been blessed with 17 acres. It's really close to town, but it's very isolated. It's a very unique piece of property. We've got cliffs. We've got a big creek running through the middle. It's almost more like a river. We've got a lot of twists and turns and trails and woods and things like that. So the way that I stayed sane was by cutting down trees. I've always loved cutting down trees. I help run a chainsaw ministry at our church where we go in times of disaster and cut trees off of people's houses after tornadoes or hurricanes or things like that. So running a chainsaw is therapy for me. There's something about it that I just love to do. So I started going down into the woods, clearing some land. And while I was clearing the land, I thought, you know what? These would make good fence posts. So we started building fences. Now, we had a couple animals before this. We had a couple of ibex, we had a horse, we had a dog, but we didn't have the fences to really expand our farming and ranching operation. So since I had some time on my hands, I started therapy for myself by cutting down trees, digging holes, and putting the trees into the holes, which turned into a fence post for what I now call the elephant fence. Most people do not cut down oak trees 12 feet tall, dig a hole, and bury them to make fence posts. But I had the time, I had the lumber because it was growing, and lumber is very expensive, so it just kind of made sense. It was hard work, but it kept me sane when we couldn't do anything with our business. It gave me a lot of time alone. It gave me time to reflect, to talk to God, sometimes to yell at God because I wasn't sure why things were happening the way they were happening. But that was the beginning of our farming and ranching expanding operation. So as our fences started to come together, we started to buy more animals. The first step was ibex. We have raised ibex with my dad in Oklahoma City for a couple years now, and we had already bought some. We just left them at his house. But since we had the fence now, we decided to bring them onto our property. We soon after expanded into chickens. We made some mistakes early on with chickens, but we've kind of honed it in now that we're raising silkies and satin showgirls, which are a fancy breed of chickens. And in the fall, we started branching out into sheep. So we started with Babydoll sheep, or Old English Southdown Babydoll sheep, and then we got into Harlequin sheep, which are also a rare breed of sheep. while I was cutting down trees and building fences and expanding our animals, Rachel found that she had a lot of enjoyment out of gardening. So she started gardening and learning about gardening and expanding our garden, which we now have a pretty big garden called a potager. Go watch that video. But she found that she found peace and she found enjoyment of digging in the ground and making things grow out of the ground. So one day we were farming, ranching, gardening, and we realized we are building a homestead. Meanwhile, my son Zeke was watching a lot of YouTube videos about how to keep our animals alive, and he kept stumbling onto some of these same people like Arms Family and Hidden Heights and Cog Hill and White House on the Hill, and I had never really watched YouTube before that, but I realized that these people were sharing their journey. They were sharing tips and tricks that they learned about animals and about plants and all of those things, and they were sharing it with the world, and their audience was growing because they were sharing. So it occurred to me, Rachel and I have always been teachers. We are coaches for our day job, but we have been teachers and coaches for as long as I can remember. We've always worked with kids at church or youth groups, so it just made sense that, hey, if we're going to do this new thing, which is turning our house into a homestead, then we should share the journey with others. Now, we didn't know a lot about it. We still don't. We weren't used to filming things and talking about things, but we knew that if God had put it on our heart to do this, that he was also probably putting it on the hearts and minds of others. And it's a pretty intimidating thing to change your life, change your lifestyle, and go a different direction, to bring other things onto your property that are living creatures that you have the responsibility of keeping alive. That's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of pressure. We have made some of those mistakes, and we are now sharing those mistakes and that journey because we feel like that's a teaching moment. We feel like we can take the things that we have seen and learned and heard, and we can pass those on to you guys. So to answer the question, what are we doing? Well, the main answer is we are following what God has put on our heart. He has given us a place of solace in our homestead. When we go, even if we're working our fingers to the bone, literally, it brings us just closer to each other as a family, brings us closer to God, brings us closer to nature. And so we are just doing it. Every day, we just try to do what God puts in front of us, whether it's expanding, whether it's doctoring, whether it is growing, whatever it is, we try to do the things that God puts in front of us. We try to be cheerful about it. We try to do it together as a family, and then we try to share that journey with others. We don't know who's watching this. We don't know why you're watching it, and sometimes we don't even know why we are doing it. But we know there's a reason. We know there is something bigger than our 17 acres. We know there is something bigger than our YouTube channel with almost 2,000 followers. We know there's something bigger than the work that we're doing and the why that we're doing it. But what we are doing is we are following the path that is in front of us, and we're sharing the journey with you so that you can enjoy our journey. Maybe you can laugh at our journey, or maybe you can be inspired to start your own journey. So whatever it is, whatever you're trying to do, wherever you're watching this, let us know. Let us know in the comments below. We don't know who you are unless you tell us who you are, and we feel like we've been called to do this for others. So we would love to know who others is, and that's you. So let us know. Who are you? Where are you from? Why are you watching this? What have you gotten out of it? What do you not like about it? Just let us know. Help us build our channel, help us build our farm, help us build our business by partnering with us through watching and engaging and helping us be motivated and encouraged to keep doing it. So this is podcast number 2. Number 3 is going to be when. And the answer to when is coming on the next podcast. We'll see you there.